Hello, nice to meet you. We can just fist bump. All right, fire away. My name is Greg. I should say Greg Eden. Yes, I did. Okay. It really depends on the kind of cancer you have. I think it's hard for everybody, but it depends on the type of cancer. I had a pretty bad type of cancer, but the way that it was able to be treated, it meant that it wasn't as hard as it can be for people with other types of cancer. How did it feel to have cancer? Well, at first I just had like a stomach ache, and I didn't really understand why I did. But then I had some tests done, and then after the tests, it I found out, like, wow, okay, I have cancer. So that was pretty scary. That was pretty scary to learn that I had cancer because I've always growing up, I always, whenever I thought of cancer, I thought of it as something that was really, really bad, and it is really bad. So it was scary. So when they discovered that I had cancer, I had surgery, and that was the first thing that they did. And I think when we go swimming on vacations together, you can see the scar on my belly, right? Um, so I had surgery. What they did was I had a cancer called colon cancer, which meant the tube in your body that turn goes from your stomach and eventually turns food into poop. That tube had some cancer in it. So what they did is they did surgery and they just cut the cancer out. It's kind of like imagine if you had a garden hose and there was a little bit, there was a bad part of the garden hose. You just cut out that part and then you stitch the garden hose back together and it works fine. That's what they did for me. So that was the first thing that they did was the surgery. And after the surgery, they wanted to make sure that they killed any cancer that was around that bad part. And so I did two things. First, I had chemotherapy. And chemotherapy, do you know what chemotherapy is? So they gave me medicine once a week. I'd go in, and they would give me medicine that would go into the body and kill any extra cancer cells. And then I also had radiation, which is basically they would zap the area of my body where the cancer was to make sure that any extra cancer was gone away. So it's kind of like if you um, if you make a mess on the counter let's say you spill some spaghetti sauce on the counter. First, you pick up all the spaghetti sauce and get rid of that, but then you have to make sure that all the little specks of spaghetti sauce are cleaned up, and that's what you use the sponge for. I would say the sponge was like the chemotherapy and the radiation. It just kind of got all those extra tiny little bits of cancer out of my body. It's a good question. I think the hardest part of cancer is how scared everybody around you becomes. Yeah. Like your dad. Your dad got really scared. And that was hard. Oh man, I was really I couldn't believe it. So I had stomach aches, really bad stomach aches, like cramps, and I thought it was appendicitis. And so I went into the hospital. Kat took me to the hospital, and they said, "Okay, it's not appendicitis. There's something going on in your tummy. We have to do a test. We have to actually put you to sleep so we can check to see what's going on." And when I woke up, my room had lots of doctors in it, and they were very, very serious. And they told me that I had what's called stage 3 colon cancer. So they have cancers have 4 stages: stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. And stage 4 is the most serious, but also it usually means um, it's going to be hard to survive. Stage 3 was the closest that you can survive without. Yeah, it's the worst that you can survive. It. I had a. They said I had a 30% chance that I would be okay. So that was pretty scary. So I was pretty. That's how it felt. I felt pretty scared. But I soon got to know. Soon met my surgeon, who was this really smart and good doctor who came in and said he was so confident, and he said, "We're going to take care of this." He made me feel a lot better, and he did. He cut it right out. What kept me fighting cancer? Well, gosh, I was just about 25, and I knew I had a lot of fun things left to do in my life. So I was, you know, I knew I had to meet JT and Luke. I had to meet you and your brothers and sisters. I had a lot to get done. I had to go heli skiing, which I still haven't done. But I had a lot. I had a big list of stuff that I had to do. So I was like, I'm gonna beat this thing, and so we did. No, maybe the first. After my surgery, the first 48 hours, the first 2 days after my surgery, maybe even the first week after my surgery were really, really hard. My surgery was really hard, and it didn't go great because the cancer was as big as it was. Um, so that first week, I wasn't sure. I was a little concerned, but great doctors, and I was surrounded by great doctors, really great nurses. The nurses made a huge difference, and really great family. Yes, I had a part of my colon, so a piece of my colon, that tube I was telling you about, and I also have some pretty nasty scars. I have a scar on my belly, and then I also have a scar on my chest, right here. Um, it's right there, just above my nipple. That's where I had a port put in. It was like a plug where they could plug um, chemotherapy in. So it's like a they play. It's gone now. It's not there anymore, but it has a little scar. It was like oh, did you lose me? Hello, hello, hello. Check, check. Yeah, I can hear you fine. Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's it. Uh oh. Lost you.